410. Chris, would you give us an overview?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee Senate Bill 410 designates a portion of U.S. Highway 69 in Bourbon and Crawford counties as the Ken W. Brock Memorial Highway, and a portion of U.S. 81 Highway as the Merle Miller Memorial Highway. Section 1 is the Ken W. Brock Memorial Highway. It will begin on United States 69 from the junction with Grand Road in Bourbon County, then go south to the junction with East 650th Avenue in Crawford County. Section 2 is the Merle Miller Memorial Highway, and that will begin on U.S. Highway 81 from the Kansas-Nebraska border and go south to the southern border of Republic County. Section 3 amends current law to redesignate a portion of U.S. 81 that was already named as the Frank Carlson Memorial Highway to account for the newly named Merle Miller Memorial Highway. The remaining portion of the Frank Carlson Memorial Highway will remain designated as we've seen in some of these highway namings in the past. As always, highway signs for both the new highways will not be placed until sufficient funds to cover 100% of the cost of the signs plus 50% for future maintenance or replacement is received. The Senate Committee on Transportation amended the bill to include the Merle Miller Memorial Highway, and the bill passed the Senate Committee of the Whole 40-0. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions for the reviser? If not, thank you very much. All right, if everybody will take a moment and review the fiscal note. It may not be totally accurate since we put two of them together. And our first testimony today is Senator Tyson is with us today. Thank you for coming to the committee today, Senator.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having the hearing and considering the bill, and committee members. I'd like to visit. This bill has two great men in it. You guys, we covered the eastern part of the state. We covered central part with 81. So all you got to do is amend it and put in that highway that runs from Norton to, or one of those north-south, and we'll have the state covered. But Ken Brock was a great man. He was dedicated, successful, generous, caring leader. For those of us that got to know him, he was a mentor for many of us. He was dedicated to faith, family, friends, and our great state. He served in the National Guard and started Names and Numbers. I don't know if any of you have heard of that business or not, but it's very well known in Southeast Kansas. They have a presence in over 18 states and 2 districts in Canada. So he grew the business from nothing with him and his wife, Debbie, over 50 years. He was a pilot with over 5,000 hours. Think about that, 5,000 hours, 208 days in a plane. That's pretty impressive. My husband's a pilot, so we know those numbers are something to be proud of. In fact, a bit of trivia, Ken's son, Bob, started the Aviation Day in the Capitol that we recently celebrated. So aviation and transportation was very important to the family. He received many awards throughout his life. One of them he was probably most proud of was the Spirit of Pittsburgh in 2011. Ken was very generous with his time and his resources. He always had a smile, always a positive suggestion, just a great person. He was a founder and worked as the chairman of the Highway 69 Association and was instrumental in expanding that to 4-lane highway. There still is work to be done. I'll remind the Transportation Committee. We want to get that 4-lane all the way to Oklahoma, to I-44. But Ken's efforts will have a lasting impact on safety and economic development in Southeast Kansas. So I ask that you join me in recognizing Ken Brock's lasting impact on Southeast Kansas, on those traveling Highway 69, and your support of Senate Bill 410. Thank you very much for your consideration. I'll stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Yeah, thank you, Senator, for coming today. Does anybody have any questions for the Senator? I know she has another meeting she needs to get to. Representative Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you, Senator, and Mr. Sloan for his testimony that he's going to be giving. And I was going to get some testimony myself on this, but I looked over everything and said, well, I just have to say ditto, because Ken Brock was a great guy, and he did a lot for this highway, for 69 and for Southeast Kansas. And you mentioned being a pilot. I don't know about any other cases, but I know in at least one case, he flew someone up to Mayo Clinic to receive treatment in his plane. And I'm sure there are other stories like that other people could share too.
Yeah, he was very giving. And Merle for Highway 81 was a great man also. My brother drives that highway to come home. So we've got family on both of these highways. They used to be extremely dangerous. And thanks to these men, we've got 4-lane highway out there. So saving lives.
Like I said, like you said, that's a really, really important thing for Southeast Kansas. And he worked very hard on that and talked to anybody who he could talk to about it. And I mean, that's something I've remember all my whole life, because a big campaign for 69 highway when I was a kid, there were bumper stickers all over the place. Pray for me, I drive 69. And it's, it's very much safer now. And like I said, the economic impact on it is really great too.
Representative Hall Heisel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for being here today. And I didn't have the opportunity to meet or know Ken, but he sounds like a fantastic individual. Just for clarity, and this may be a revised question, or Senator, you may know as well. Which portion of 69 are we?
I do have that. It's we're going from 69 Grand Road in Bourbon County to 650th Avenue in Crawford County. And the reason we're doing that is Ken was born in Bourbon County and graduated high school in Fort Scott. So he had ties there, and then he had the business and raised his family in Crawford County. So it's a little bit longer area than we usually do, but very well.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tie. So thank you for that, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What a pleasure to see you again.
Oh, it's
Maybe other people do, but I do not know. Would you tell me what kind of businesses, names, and numbers in Pittsburgh?
so it was a telephone directory, basically, is what it started out as. They do an online business now, but it was a telephone book. Yeah,
Multi-million-dollar.
multi-million. Yes, I think if you look, there's a business website, you can look up everybody's businesses, how much they estimate. It's like 325 million a year or something.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Representative Collins.
I just wanted to add on that, the representative's question about what portion of 69 highway that is. 650th is just north of Arma, and the south of 650th, we recently designated that as a Robert Lesson highway. But if you're familiar with Southeast Kansas at all, that might give you some idea.
Representative Goddard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to clarify, hopefully in Representative Ballard's mind, I get my local city telephone directory. It sits on the shelf. Anytime I want something, I go to names and numbers. It's a fantastic resource.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the senator? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda is Representative Mosier. Welcome to the committee, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Francis, Vice Chair Neely, Ranking Member Ballard, and members of the committee. I'm Representative Lisa Mosier, and I'm here today to testify in support of SB 410. I remember as a young girl when my father would drive our family to Salina by way of I-70, and I was just amazed at the 4 lanes and traffic whizzing by at speeds that my 10-year-old brain couldn't comprehend, because in Nemaha County, we had rock roads and 2-lane highways. And so, although I never knew Merle Miller, I have read about his accomplishments as an editor, a newspaper editor in Republic County, and also about his unparalleled desire to encourage local growth in the area of Republic County, while also wanting to spur the entire state economy by having a 4-lane highway from north to south in Kansas. Both he and his father, A.Q. Miller, held a long-range vision of travel and roads during their lifetimes regarding how transportation would play a vital role in the advancement not only of the local area, but of Kansas and of this great nation. Merle's hometown in Belleville has been affectionately called the crossroads of America, as that is where U.S. Highway 36 and the Highway 81 intersect. Kansas has had the I-70 4-lane highway since the 1950s, about 70 miles south of the area that we're talking about. And so Merle had envisioned a 4-lane highway going from north to south. I-70 goes east to west. Merle envisioned a state highway for 4 lanes going from the north to the south. His tireless efforts over 40 years resulted in just that, and a robust 4-lane highway, Highway 81 through Republic County, completed his dream. Representing Republic County as part of my district of 106, it is my privilege to recommend that the portion of U.S. Highway 81 running through Republic County be named in honor of Merle Miller, an individual who not only had the improvement of his local region in mind, but also the vision of connecting Kansas with the rest of the nation from Canada to Mexico. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of SB 410. I ask that the committee pass it out favorably, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative, and thanks for testifying today. Does anybody have any questions for Representative Moser? Representative Goddard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just a comment, I've always envisioned a ladder concept for our highway systems, our main highways, 2 going east-west, and then you have your rungs going north-south. And that really furthers to enhance interstate and intra-state transportation systems. So I thank you for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Senator Bowers. Welcome to the committee, Senator Bowers. Okay, we've got 2 or 3. So next, if you want to bring up the rear, you want to back clean up. All right. The next on the agenda is a good friend of mine, Steve Sloan. He's the president of Midwest Minerals. And for those of you that don't know, he's very active in transportation across the state. So we've been on numerous meetings together. So if you want an advocate for the project in your area, you know, Steve's your man. So welcome to the committee, Steve.
I know it's incredibly busy up here, and we certainly thank you for scheduling it so in prompt time. Certainly, I want to thank Senator Tyson for introducing the bill, and I want to thank Meg for your work. You make things very efficient and easy, so on people like us. So thank you for everything that you do. Ken Brock passed away December 31st of 2023, and he left behind a great legacy and a steadfast desire to improve the lives of citizens of Pittsburgh and the entire region of Southeast Kansas. His involvement in the community was vast, including Pittsburgh State University, aviation, and many, many other philanthropic and community endeavors. And as Karen mentioned, or excuse me, Senator Tyson mentioned, he was awarded Pittsburgh's highest citizen honor, which is the Spirit of Pittsburgh Award. But as noted in his obituary, Ken was best known for his service as the chairman of the Highway 69 Association. He was a tireless advocate of realizing the mission of the 69 Highway Association, which is a 4-lane highway from Kansas City to I-44. Ken travels to Topeka and Washington, D.C., and wherever he needed to go to promote this endeavor. And he was really a true diplomat in his approach. I know many of you have talked to him before. It was always direct. It was informative, but always so courteous. He was such a gentleman. And he never finished a meeting with a constituency without asking, now, how can I help you? I think you all remember that from Southeast Kansas. So Simply put, the development of the Highway 69 corridor in southeast Kansas would not have taken place without the leadership of Ken W. Brock. And therefore, I humbly ask that you forward Senate Bill 410 as a fitting tribute to a tremendous servant leader in our area. So thank you for your consideration. I would stand for any questions.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Sloan? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda is Margot Miller. Help me with the last name, Margot. I'm sorry. Labhan. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming. And my understanding is you've had quite the trip today.
Yeah, yes.
Thanks for
We
coming
could
up.
not find a parking spot, but it's okay. We're here.
Welcome to.
And when I went to the Senate, it was during the big fog, and that was an experience getting here. So anyway, it is my pleasure to address the representatives, because I'm going to tell you a story about a very special man who had a special dream. Now, he dreamed of a 4-lane highway running north and south across Kansas from Nebraska to Oklahoma. He also hoped that the other states would come on board to extend it across their states. That highway was called the Pan American Highway, to be known as US 81. This man was Merle M. Miller, editor and publisher of the Belleville Telescope, Belleville, Kansas, and my dad. As is typical of a small town publisher, he took the problems of the world on his shoulders. He felt that the highways were the answer to growth in Kansas. Belleville, as you heard, is located where two highways cross, Highway 81 north and south, and 36 east and west, and it became known as the Crossroads of America. Dad was well aware of the significance of good highways on the economy of Kansas. For many years, Dad traveled all over the state of Kansas and the adjacent states promoting good highways. People used to ask Dad how long he had been interested in highways, and his answer was, all my life. His father, A.Q. Miller, was one of the founders of the earliest highways in Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri. And the School of Journalism at Kansas State University is named after him. Dad used to say, maybe it was the turtle that got stuck in a rut that started my interest in highways. Dad could remember riding in the family car with his dad as they explored dirt roads to determine highway routes. They always carried a shovel to dig out when they got stuck, and getting stuck was a common thing. Dad could remember one Sunday trip. His dad, A.Q., had taken them on a mud road that had only 2 deep ruts. The ruts were so deep, once the car was in them, you couldn't get it out. They came upon a turtle trying to climb out of the rut, and he kept sliding back in. After a short wait, his father, A.Q., impatiently drove on, much to the whole family's misery. Dad was president of the Pan American Highway Association in 1967 when he was encouraged by friends to take a caravan of 23 cars and 63 people following the highway from Winnipeg, Canada, through the United States and Mexico, across Central and South America. Dad had lots of friends, and one couple who lived in Peru when working as a Pan Am pilot offered to plan the itinerary, figure out how far they could drive each day, and check with friends concerning the availability of gas and places to stay. After crossing the border into Mexico, the group learned to fill up with gas whenever they saw a filling station. Don't stop along the roadway because of the danger of bandits. Try to keep your vehicles together for each other's protection. Don't wander far from your vehicle, and don't lose your money or car ownership papers. The trip covered more than 16,000 miles. And with this caravan of goodwill, they succeeded in promoting US 81 and the Pan American Highway as an international highway. Dad continued his efforts to support the paving and other improvements of US 81 for many years because he felt it was the best direct north and south route across the nation, and we needed one major expressway to carry north and south industrial and tourist traffic. A 4-lane section of US 81 between Salina and Minneapolis was completed in 1971. But Dad wanted it to be completed from that point all the way to the Nebraska line. He also met with the governor of Nebraska and a group of highway supporters from York, Nebraska, to encourage a 4-lane extension from the state line to York, Nebraska, where it would interconnect with US 80. Dad was able to see this dream completed in his lifetime. I was living in Pratt at the time, and that first road trip to Belleville on US 81's new 4-lane brought tears to my eyes. At that time, I had hoped that a portion of that special area of Highway 81 would be a source of recognition for my dad, Merle M. Miller. Thank you very much for your attention. I will stand if you have any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony, and thanks for sharing what some of our forefathers had for vision of what Kansas could and will be. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions, Representative Ballard?
That was a beautiful testimony.
Oh, thank you. Bless you.
And history. So thank you so very much.
I felt like at least I knew Dad that well. I could tell you some of those things.
Each time you would say dad and dad, it was like, it was special. So tell me, you say your dad lived long enough to realize his dream?
He realized, yes, he got to see the 4-lane all the way to the border. And oh, it was so exciting. They had an opening and, it was terribly exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much. Next, batting cleanup today, we have Senator Elaine Bowers. Welcome to the committee, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm always happy to go last and bring up the rear and do the cleanup, as you said. So, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee to allow me to testify on Senate Bill 410 today. Senate Bill 357 was added to this current version in the Senate Transportation Committee. The new Section 2 in Senate Bill 410 designates a portion of US 81 in north central Kansas as a Merle Miller Memorial Highway from the southern Republic County line to the Nebraska border of 81 Highway. So that's exactly where it's at. Friends and family of Merle Miller from Belleville have been working on this project for a number of years. In fact, I've had a file for probably 3 years that I've had until the timer's right, and we really do feel like we have it right. And as you listen to Margot, you understand why I wanted her to go first, because she'd bring the personal part of that. So he did work over 40 years on upgrading US 81 from a 2-lane to the 4-lane. As the owner and the editor of the Belleville Telescope, he felt that highways were the answer to growth in Kansas. In fact, the city of Belleville's population grew in the last census and again is over 2,000 people. And this increase is the first since 1967. I'm going to pass over a lot of what Margot said because she talked about the Pan American Highway, which is a lot what I remember growing up just off 81 Highway in Ottawa County down the road. So she caught that really well on this Pan American Highway, a vision from Mexico through Canada, and it cut right through north central Kansas. Mr. Miller passed away in 2003 at the age of 88 and lived to see his goal of a 4-lane highway all the way to York, Nebraska. And I'd also like to mention traffic counts are up at this intersection of 81 and 36 from near 3,000 people in the 1990s is now at 8,000 per day. Funding for the signs are in hand, and the community is preparing a big sign unveiling and celebration in collaboration with the Kansas Department of Transportation for the Merle Miller Memorial Highway after passage of Senate Bill 410. So we'll have another celebration, Marco. And that's what I have. If I've caught it all that no one else said, but everyone has said what I needed to say. So you do have my written testimony in more detail.
Thank you, Senator. Does anybody have any questions for Senator Bowers? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody, please also take a minute to review the testimony. Senator Moran has written testimony in favor of this bill. Congressman LaTurner, Kevin Mitchelson with the U.S. Highway 69 Association, Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Pittsburgh have also submitted written testimony. Do we have any other verbal testimony in favor of this bill? Okay. Do we have any opponent testimony? Seeing none, do we have any neutral testimony? If not, I'll go ahead and close the hearing on Senate Bill 410. Committee, next we'll go to Senate Bill 399. Chris, could you give us an overview?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, Senate Bill 399 amends the Vehicle Dealers and Manufacturers Licensing Act to move the dates when monthly reports are due to the Division of Vehicles from the current 20th day of the month to the 25th day of the month. The reports affected include monthly sales reports listing all vehicle sales or transfers by vehicle dealers, and then reports by salvage vehicle dealers, vehicle crushers, vehicle recyclers, rebuilder, scrap metal recycler, and salvage vehicle pool. In addition to any applicable sales reports, have to do a report listing all vehicles for which the major component part containing the vehicle identification number or engine number, if they were manufactured prior to 1981, has been disposed of or sold. Senate Committee on Transportation reported the bill out favorably and placed it on the consent calendar, where it passed with no objection, and the Senate Committee of the whole 40-0. I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Do we have any questions for the reviser? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Everybody will take a minute to glance at the fiscal note. There is actually a fiscal note of $816, so it's not a very big fiscal note. And with that, our first proponent is Senator Bowers, who also, I think, in her day job has to fill out some of these reports.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. And before I wanted to let you know I have some backup support in case we need expert opinions behind me. So we have David Harper. You might recognize him from your committee for the Department of Revenue. We have Deanna Shepard and LaDonna Garcia, and they help in they run the dealer section of the Department of Revenue and are my go-to people whenever I need help. So they're not on your agenda, but they came out to be my backup. So I am one of 2,340 active vehicle dealers in Kansas. And an interesting fact for the committee, a vehicle dealer consists of a person who purchases a vehicle with the intent to sell for a profit or sells 5 or more vehicles within a calendar year. Doing business as a vehicle manufactured home dealer or salesperson in the state of Kansas requires a license issued by the Kansas Department of Revenue dealer licensing. Dealers reapply for their license each year, and certain requirements have to be met, which include current insurance, local zoning requirements met, tax clearance, and reports current. Each month, 2 reports are required, one for the submission of the vehicle sales for the month, which is due on the 20th, and one report which submits the sales tax collected for these sales, which is due on the 25th. As I have prepared and submitted these reports for over 30 years as a dealer, in fact, my first license was 1988, I've always wondered why these dates weren't the same and just have one date for both. As I researched with the dealer license division within the Department of Revenue, I learned these dates are in statute and cannot be modified administratively or in rules and regs, and a law must be passed to combine the dates. By moving the monthly vehicle sales report to the 25th, when the sales tax report is due and remittances due would put both reports on the same day for easier bookkeeping. And as I mentioned, my friends in the back, I did check with the Department of Revenue and found no opposition to this change in reporting to the state. And again, I think this simplifies the process to a one-day submission for both reports without disrupting the sales tax dollars submitted by leaving the date the 25th monthly for both reports. And as you heard from Chris, the bill passed out of the Senate 40-0 is on the consent calendar on 2/20. And if you'd be so inclined, I think the consent calendar is where this belongs as well. And I'm ready for any questions if you'd like to ask the administration in the back also. I do believe you have KADA's testimony. I did run the traps on this, and the Dealers Association had no problem with it. This will just make it so much easier each month.
Does anybody have any questions for Senator Bowers? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And as she said, there's proponent testimony from the Kansas Association of Automobile Dealers also. And David, you guys don't, Mr. Harper, you guys don't have any concerns with the change at all either. Okay. All right. With that, I'll go ahead and close the hearing on House Bill 399. Committee, that's all that we have on the schedule today. Tomorrow is the mega license plate bill for the Chiefs. And isn't that right, Meg? Yeah, for the Chiefs, Sporting KC, the Royals, Wichita Zoo, KC Current. That's right. That's right. I got to make sure that I don't leave anybody out. So we'll probably have a lot of testimony. And so if you want to wear your colors after your basketball team gets beat tonight, it would be a good day to do that. So, okay, if there's nothing further for the committee, we're adjourned. Thank you.